Hello there, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Facebook Live. As always, I'm super amped. I say amped because I'm so excited to have Craig here with us from Orthomolecular because he is an amazing guy, and I love his products, and he's super smart. And today we are going to talk about detoxing. And, I think sometimes that wellness can get so overwhelming because what the heck even makes us well? And we can get so obsessed with little components of the big picture that we forget it is a big picture. We forget to trust our bodies, and we forget that you just have to be pretty good about some basic things and not overthink any one thing, because you can actually stress yourself out about that, and that's anti what we're trying to do. Okay, so.
And also a toxin.
Exactly, stress, just feeling like fear, anxiety, depression, those types of symptoms just really do make your body have more oxidative stress.
Yeah.
So since it's January, let's talk about detoxes. And you'll hear people be like, what is that? People will do it with food. People sometimes do it by pooping a lot. I don't know. There's a lot of extremes that some people will go to. And so this is just a scientifically researched way, I believe, of helping people achieve getting goo out of their body. So
before everybody tunes out, we're not asking you to do a colon blow. This is the detox. We're talking about the liver. We're talking about getting things out of the body and doing it with science, not doing the kind of traditional first of the year fast that everyone thinks that we're going to be talking about. So it's actually a very convenient and easy to utilize protocol.
And when you think about your body, again, your body is the vessel that you're driving your life in. And so you go in for a 30,000 check, a 60,000 check, a 90,000 check. And so doing detoxes are just a way that you're pulling goo out of your body. And so when you go in for that 30,000 check, they switch your fluids and stuff like that. So I kind of equate this almost in a way to that. So, and when you think about phase 1, phase 2 conjugation of the liver, it's just a process like gears that you're binding things to help your body rid them out of your body more effectively.
Yeah, and as you kind of look at the first slide here, it's really, as we run through the entire presentation here, the first point, you're exposed to 14 pounds, I already got it.
Oh, you got
14 pounds of pesticides and herbicides from food, additives, and preservatives in an average year. That's just really shocking on what you get. It's people don't understand necessarily that just living their daily life. They say, hey, I'm healthy, but it's not necessarily about being healthy, because you're always putting constantly toxins in your body. We'll talk about skincare, we'll talk about drinking water, we'll talk about just the food that you eat. There's so many different things that that are sources of toxins that it really just makes sense that we need to, as Dr. Durland was saying, basically do an oil change essentially, and making sure that we're taking care of ourselves both internally and externally.
Absolutely.
So.
And this is kind of a slideshow from Orthomolecular to kind of further explain the detox, and that's what we're kind of sticking to today, but kind of anecdotally adding in as we go along. So our next slide, did we already switch it? Because you're so good. You're just so good.
So basically, when you look at detox, that's going to be one of your pillars of GI health. And I like to think of, detoxification, digestion, microflora balance, gut integrity. It's the 4 legs of GI health. And, you think about, if you go to a restaurant and you have a shaky table because one of the legs is shorter than the other one. So if you're not doing detox, you basically have wobbly GI health. And you're not going to stick a sugar packet, for lack of a really good explanation here, under the table of your GI health to level everything out. You have to get that elimination portion so that we have those 4 legs that work together and support detox.
Perfect. Okay, so next.
You got it.
And so, what are toxins? So toxins are just things that we may ingest or be exposed to that are just not natural to the body and they make the body not function as well. So your body has to work against them to get them out of it, because it just looks at it kind of like as foreign. And then to remove, and how much you're taking in is defined as whatever toxic burden, which is how much stuff am I taking in that my body doesn't really like necessarily. But don't just think about what you're taking in, but your body's also generating its own toxins throughout the day, and it's just the kind of the cost of doing business. It's just like when you have a lot of oxidative stress from working out and things like that, that builds stuff up. So you have the burden of what you're putting in as well as what you're generating, and we just want to get more of it out and open the channels so your body can get it out more efficiently.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that people, when we talk about sources of toxins, you have your main, your air pollution, food, solvents, auto exhaust. It's not exactly great weather outside right now, but one of the things that I always, I spend the day as an outside salesperson, so I'm in and out of my car all day long. I don't live in a huge city, but when I go on vacation and you just see smog like hanging in the air, you're constantly breathing in and taking in toxins. So it's every portion of your life that you can't really get away from them. And there's a couple of studies that we'll cite later on in the presentation that are pretty shocking as to when from like a biopsy, or one of the ones that really kind of disturbs me is the one talking about the umbilical cord and neurotoxins that were in it. So it's when you have a baby and that baby comes into the world full of toxins already, in its umbilical cord, that just tells you that they've done absolutely nothing to do that, but they're getting the toxins already. So
there's nothing like wanting to protect your kids to elicit a lot of like, I'll do anything.
Yep. So here's a couple of the things that, just from a study standpoint, when you look at a biopsy and 100% of the people that were studied, those patients had toxins in their blood and in their body, and it's some pretty serious ones. And it's just, like we said, you just live daily life and you're getting a lot of toxic burden, and there's just nothing that you can do about it. And eventually it's going to get overburdened into your body, so we have to get them out.
And two, it's interesting as well that, I'll hear people come in all the time and we look at genetic predisposition, for example, for like women's health with breast and ovarian cancer, that only about 10 to 12% of all breast and ovarian cancers are genetically linked. But how much we fear that. And you realize that 95% of cancer is caused by diet and the environment. And so that is something you can do something about, which is very empowering. And so simply and it doesn't mean you have to be perfect about how you eat or how you move. It's just being pretty mindful about it. So like even doing something like this once a year or taking some of this other stuff every once in a while is going to be better than not doing it at all.
Yeah, I talk about a lot of times with detox, you get out of yourself what you put into yourself while doing a detox. When we talk about the products, I'll kind of come back to that point. But there's, we talk about doing it once a year, twice a year. You can also detox to help yourself establish new healthy habits, and if you need to, you're too addicted to sugar and you're drinking a bunch of soda, but it's going to be really hard for you to go from 6 cans of Mountain Dew a day down to 0. Maybe using it to go from 6 to 4 while you're doing a detox. Do another detox and go from 4 to 2. There's a lot of different reasons to go about doing it. It doesn't just have to be, your traditional thought on it.
And so this slide's just basically going over all the things that you wouldn't think about where you're getting like exposure that we take for granted, I think. And so, it's talking about paints and construction glues, as well as like plastics, carpets, furnishings, just everyday water bottles. Dear gosh. Just exposures that you're getting every day in these little amounts that maybe in the little amount is not a lot, but they're stored in our fat. So over time they build up.
And, one of the things, it's just when you look at a list along those lines, it's, how many things on this particular list am I exposed to every single day? It's not just one thing. It's the totality of our lifestyle. I mean, the next slide, I'm pretty sure references, if I'm not mistaken, just there's, I'm wearing a suit. I picked up the suit from the dry cleaner. The chemicals that a dry cleaner uses, I'm just breathing these in all day long. Even though I use a natural dry cleaner, let's say that, who knows what they're actually doing.
Natural.
Exactly what they actually do when I drop it off. So.
You're so good at hitting that button. Oh gosh, love it. And so Oh, how many people do I see in the office that have insulin resistance? Tons. And so this is just another kind of study talking about how chronic exposure to some of these toxins can increase insulin resistance and make the mitochondria, which are the powerhouse of your cell, not work as great. So life is hard. You know, all of our relationships, our thoughts about ourselves, that's hard. Helping your mitochondria and helping reduce insulin resistance by doing this, that's like just easy.
And this is, so atrazine is a pretty common pesticide that's used throughout the Midwest, and I think this next slide is my favorite slide in the entire presentation, because it really just goes to show the red area is going to be the highest levels of concentration there of that particular toxin. And where are we at? We're right smack dab in the middle of the red area. So Kansas, Missouri, Nebraska, Iowa, Illinois, you know, and it doesn't even have to be that you necessarily live there. What comes from those areas? A lot of the foods that you're eating, a lot of the wheat, the corn, the things that, we probably shouldn't be eating, but you know, they're part of your daily diet in one way, shape, or form, unless you're doing a really, really clean lifestyle. So you're still getting it. And then we're going to talk about it a little bit later with water. Well, what happens when they use these pesticides and then they seep into the ground and then they seep into the water, and then you're still getting the pesticide even if you're eating organic and not using foods that contained it in the first place. So you're kind of, you know, they get you coming and going. I was going to say another term, but we'll keep it PC on Facebook. We'll keep it family friendly on Facebook Live.
And so some sources, of course, where toxins can come from, like cosmetics. And our face is a really absorptive part of our body. So we just want to be mindful of what we're putting on our face.
Your skin is your largest organ in your entire body.
Yeah, that's so cool. And so, you know, nicotine, alcohol, caffeine, prescription medications, over-the-counter things. And those are more lifestyle toxins. But gosh, love it, like we talked about, the air we breathe. I mean, everything is a exposure.
Yeah. I mean, it really is. It's one of those things that with our skincare line. So with skincare, this might be actually predate when you and I actually met and started talking. We used to do a natural skincare line, and there's a couple of points that I took away from that I still talk about, whether it's vitamin D absorption with sunscreen and different things, but parabens and all the synthetic chemicals that you basically take. And as I was saying, the skin is the largest organ in your body, and you basically just slather toxins on your skin. And so it's twofold. You're putting toxins on your skin, but essentially you're also taking plastic wrap, for lack of a better description here, and wrapping it around yourself and locking those toxins in so they have no place to go away. So when you're taking that and it has all of those chemicals in the skincare, you're rubbing it on yourself, you're attaching it to the toxins that are already there, so you're basically doubling up on what it is. And on average, you know, a couple of the things that I would cite are, you know, females use on average 12 skincare products a day, men use 6. So it's one of those things that you're just constantly doing this and you don't even know that you're doing it.
I tell you, the more I talk about this, I gotta go start this tonight. Every time we talk about something,
It's funny, when we came out with our skincare line, that's what all of us, you know, like especially the guys in our company, were like, oh yeah, we went through and looked at every single product in the house, and it's like, it has this, it has this, it has this, and you don't know what you don't know until you know it.
Yeah, and then you're aware and you can associate things.
Do we move?
Do we move? Did I move it? Is this so fun? Maybe you're so good at this. Toxic substances, do you want to get it? Yep. And then this is just water, you know, not just water, but just talking again about, to the point that we were talking about just previously, that, you know, there's pollutants that get into our drinking water, and if we are in that's one of those regions that has more of those pollutants, then we're going to have more in the water that we consume, just because that's the nature of the beast. And we consume those.
Or if you're drinking out of a plastic bottle, who knows how long that's been
sitting there.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things that can affect it, and you know, we need to make sure that we're taking care to get what we're putting in our body is clean.
Yeah. And I think to this point too, that I would say is that I'm not scared to drink from a plastic water bottle. I'm not scared to, or do you have something? Okay. I'm not, but I just know that I want to be mindful and be in moderation about everything.
Yep.
Because your body's built to actually protect itself from cancer and things like that. It's just when the burden gets too high, it can't do its job.
Yeah, to me, I think it's as much like, especially with when we talk about the food and soil toxins as well, it is something that, when we look at it, it's more of the natural, it's more of the alternative to it. And, as we were talking about back with the atrazine, it's you don't want to talk to people and fearmonger with it. That's not what we mean to do here with it. It's more of an education side with it, and less is more. And if we can take if you have 4 or 5 areas of toxins in your life, if you can eliminate 2 or 3 of them, or reduce huge. 2 or 3 of them, it makes a huge difference.
Every little thing makes a difference.
Mm-hmm. So I think So there's certain foods that are going to be worse for you, and this is what we kind of call the dirty dozen, and they're the ones that have the highest levels of toxins just from pesticides, herbicides, and everything. So it's one of my mentors who's been with Ortho for over 30 years. He says, it's really about shopping the outside of the grocery store and getting those natural things.
Yes.
And that's where a lot of these products come from. But then it's like, okay, so it's 50 cents more for organic than it is for regular. Is organic really better? Well, when you're buying apples, when you're buying strawberries, when you're buying things that
are on this list,
yes, organic is better because we want to make sure that we're getting. I'm not saying don't eat these things. I'm saying when you eat these things, make sure that A, you're cleaning them properly, or B, that you're getting them from an organic source in the first place.
Because they just hold on to toxins easier than some of the other ones.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And so this is just an example of different cleaning products that can have toxins in them. And gosh, love it. I think you just have to look on the back of what you use. And you just have it be well ventilated when you use it.
Mm-hmm.
And, be careful with your hands when you're putting your hands into it. Because sometimes I know I'm like the worst. Sometimes where I'll be like, I'll just do it really fast. My hands don't burn. It's fine. Well, my
and
hands
then
are
afterwards,
like super
how
absorptive.
dry and crusty and everything. Yeah.
My hands are tingling. Is that bad? Yeah, I've done that a lot. Not gonna lie. And then this is just indoor toxic exposure that, when you walk into your home, when you have, when you're outside, there's pollutants in the air too.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying not to breathe, and I'm not saying not to keep your house clean. I'm just saying be mindful.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is the internal toxins, and these have to do with like metabolic reactions from, it could be medications, from how you're eating, from your stress, undigested food, unresolved trauma or abuse. I think that's huge because people hold on to a lot of stuff for a lot of years. And until you let it go mentally, it sticks with you. And so it's actually easier to eat organic than it is to face your fear. But it's real important. So I just bring that up. And then unhappy relationships, bacterial infections, yeast infections, things like that.
Yeah, I think that's one of the issues, or when you look at like this list, that's the big thing is, it's the ones that you don't expect or that you don't know. We all know we need to eat healthier. We all know that we need to be more mindful of what we're putting into our body, but it's not even necessarily all about that. It can be life, it can be stress, it can be anxiety, the things that we don't know about that we have to adjust and we have to monitor.
Yes. I tell folks every day, the hardest thing for us to face is the hardest thing for us, the thing for us to change that takes the most energy is the last thing for us to face. So I struggle that too as a practitioner, that it's so easy when people come in to be like, oh, you can take this or do that. But it's like, no, I have to remind myself, I have to remind them to don't forget to do the hard work. And the hard work is change your life. Mm-hmm. Okay, so signs that your detoxification capacity might be impaired. Yeah. So like asthma, PMS, just this insomnia, fatigue, skin disorders, allergies, weight changes. It's what we talk to people, what I talk to people about every day. And I think the cool thing with a detox is if you do it and you will feel better pretty quickly. And if you feel better pretty quickly, you associate the fact that you got goo out of your body, which makes you believe in doing it a little bit more and realize it's a place that you could go to help yourself feel better pretty speedy.
Yeah, I would say that after 10 years that I've been with Ortho and lots of people that I've talked to with detoxification, it's really interesting because one of the first things I said there was, hey, this isn't a colon blow. It's that's not
that's
me.
Unpleasant. Nobody wants to poop all day long.
That's not me making a joke. Like, that's what people tell you when you say, hey, I want you to do a detox. Oh God, I've done those before. They're horrible. I can't stand it. You know, yes, there's certain aspects of it that are tough because you're getting, the more toxic your life is, the more toxins that we have to get out of you.
You feel a little achy when you do it.
But what I will tell you is, everybody who does it that I talk to, they'll tell you, the first couple of days were tough, but after day 7, after day 14, however long they're doing that detox, they remark how much better they feel for the first time in X number of years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. All I've ever had is, headaches, I've had chronic constipation, I've had all of these things, and then, oh my gosh, in 7 days, just how my life has completely changed. And they feel so much better. They lose a little bit of weight. Food tastes better. It's crazy how just a simple concept of detoxification really changes people that much.
And I would have to say too that the other thing that when I have done this before, I learned is I was like, in eating kind of very clean for that period of time, I realized that my stomach was flat. And I'm not saying I lost all my fat or anything like that, but I'm just saying that I think I'm eating a food allergen, or I'm eating something that my stomach is really mad at, and I could potentially not feel that way. And so it really helped me afterwards be like, if I'm all bloated up, this is normal, and I don't have, this is something I'm doing. So it helped me believe and pursue understanding of what I was doing to myself.
Yeah, and when you do the detox, part of it can be done as a because you're doing a modified fast, but it's an elimination diet as well. So one of the things that a lot of times a provider will find, or the patient will find, is, hey, I may not have an allergy, but I may have a sensitivity to something, and that may be what's bothering me. So when we're removing dairy, or when we're removing gluten, or when we're removing whatever it is from the diet there for several days, and you start feeling better, and then all of a sudden you add that back in, and you're like, oh, there's that symptom again. Well, is it easier to just remove that long term, and then you're going to feel better? Because once you do that detox and we figure out what's wrong with you, patients don't want to go back to what was, and wrong with you is not the right term. When you figure out what's causing the issue, you don't want to go back to it.
No,
so
you don't want to go back to feeling pain.
Yeah.
Yes. So this is just saying about how many different synthetics, like just an average. In 2006, the CDC said that America had 116 of the 148 synthetic compounds in the body.
Yeah, and this was the one I was talking about, where you kind of go down to that second one up from the bottom, talking about umbilical cords that contain 217 neurotoxins. 208 are known to cause birth defects. One of the things when I talk to providers about probiotics, for instance, I always say, hey, from a gut standpoint, you're the healthiest you're ever going to be before you take the first breath when you come into this world, because every single thing that you do, diet, medication, breathing, all of those things are going to cause you to start losing, healthy flora. So if you're coming into this beforehand with all of those toxins, what's going to happen?
So this is just kind of reiterating, why would you detox? Basically, I would just say to get rid of the goo that's in your body that you don't need to hold on to anymore. And so this is kind of just describing how the detoxification kind of works, not just through diet, but also through increasing your body's ability to excrete the toxins from your body. And that is why people may get a little bit more efficient results, a little bit better results from using these things as opposed to only food, because you can really concentrate those things in one place to maximize effectiveness and take away the need to take a lot of time. And we could talk about phase 1 and phase 2 conjugation. That is just kind of, again, think of gears. Gears are the process that your liver has to go through to get rid of goo. So it has to go from this into this gear, and this gear goes to this gear, and then this gear gets it out. So you have to amplify the efficiency of each process to amplify the whole process.
Yeah, and one of the things, so when we talk about phase 1 and phase 2, when we look at doing a detox, phase 2 is the pathways to get the toxins out of the body. Phase 1 is the actual liver, so getting the toxins out. And, some of the things that you'll look at that can compromise that, whether it's going to be, so when you look at your ingredients, so vitamin C, vitamin E, B vitamins, those types of things, medications will compromise that. And if you don't have enough of those nutrients in the body, it's going to compromise detoxification as well. So I know we're kind of speeding up a little bit here to try and get to some product and show you guys what
it's actually about.
Yep.
So basically, when you think about the Core Restore program, it's 7 days, and what you do is you take the powder twice a day.
So what I would look at, so when I look at our program, what we do is you're doing a 7-day detox. The first 2 days, you're going to do your core support, or in this case, we're calling it the phase 1. So just for days, we call it phase 1.
Yeah.
So this is helping to upregulate those detoxification pathways. I actually recommend doing 1 scoop 4 times a day as opposed to 2 scoops twice a day, because you're going to be doing a modified fast on those first couple of days. So it helps to control blood sugar, it helps to control satiety, it gives the patient something else to kind of, as like a snack while they're drinking a lot of water. And then you're also adding in the Detox Multi. So as we were talking about before, all of the ingredients, your B vitamins, your A, your C, all of those things, they're going to be depleted in the body. We need to rebuild them to help with the detoxification, but we're also getting more of that energy production with it as well to help you as you're going through your detoxification. Then on day 3, we bring in the cholagogues and choleretics, which are going to be helping to process those toxins. If you think back to that chart where you're showing phase 1 and phase 2, this is going to help remove the toxins from the body.
It's so awesome.
So, and then utilizing, as the program, there's also a patient guide that comes with it.
About good foods.
Yep, good food, shopping lists, snacks, all of the things that you basically need to do to run through day 1 through 7 of your detoxification program.
And I think it's super easy to follow. So, and I mean, there's pictures and do this, do that, don't do this, do this. And so I think it's very user friendly.
Yeah, I mean, basically anything and everything that you would want. And one of the things that we were talking about before, just from a diet standpoint, I always say, you get out of yourself what you put into yourself during a detox. So the patient guide has a lot of recipes. It's local, it's clean, it's green. So if you're hungry, you want to eat a handful of raw almonds, for instance, not go to a gas station and go get barbecue, salted, the things that aren't good for you that cause you to need to detox. But it's making sure that we're using the right things when we're doing it, and all of it's just very simple, no pun intended, there in the patient guide for you.
Awesome.
So when you look at that, basically this just kind of walks you through days 1 through 7 and shows you, like I said, I recommend doing 1 scoop 4 times a day as opposed to 2 scoops there, where it says to do it twice a day. But that's really patient choice on that and how it's going to, what they feel like doing.
Awesome. And then let me see if there's too much. So benefits is that you're just helping lose a little bit of weight, you get rid of some goo, and you help increase the ability of your body to detoxify the goo in moving forward.
Mm-hmm. So essentially, one of the other things that we talk about, and there's a couple of other products here just to run through. So, when you do your detoxification, you're going through these 3 products, and we're working on that elimination portion, getting the toxins out of your body. And then the question that I always get back from providers and from patients is, what do I do? I do a 7-day detox. What do I do on day 8? What do I do for the rest of my life? Because I feel better now. I've gotten all of these benefits. So how do I go about doing that? And that's where we look at like the MitoCore, which this is kind of your, year-round detox multivitamin. So there's a lot of similar ingredients that are going to work on phase 1, phase 2 detoxification. So you're getting, acetylation, methylation, glutathione conjugation still, so you're not backing those toxins up. Then the next time you do a detox, it's a little bit simpler.
Yes.
It's a little bit easier, so it's not as tough as that first time. And then also just long-term being able to utilize a healthy vegetable and vitamin-based protein powder to help with satiety and help maintain those detox pathways. It's one of those things that if we can put something healthy in as opposed to something unhealthy, it just limits the toxic burden.
And so, and two, it's just something you could do, and instead of just doing any multivitamin, this is actually what we use as our multivitamin, because, every day, if you can take something that helps your body help itself, and just like anywhere from 2 to 4 tablets, that's so easy. And then the other thing I really super love, again, about all the orthomolecular products, especially their protein powders, is, you've got your Inflammacor that helps with oxidative stress and GI health. And so sometimes I'll take that. Now, other times I may want to, increase my detoxification a little bit, so I'll do this protein powder. And then you've got your Glycemicor with more fiber to help me with glycemic control. So I'm not always doing one of them. I'm kind of moving them around. And so I can also get my supplements through my protein powder instead of always having to swallow tablets, and they're absorbed really great. And so it just really opens up my opportunities as an individual to not do too much of one thing, but a little of it all. And it just, I love that approach.
Yeah, and that's basically it, is that multifaceted approach to everything, because ultimately you don't want to have to, the patients don't want to take, this for capsules every single day. So being able to do a powder eliminates some of that capsule and pill fatigue as well.
And then to help you guys understand what all this is about, so because if you understand it, then you can navigate it, and then it makes more sense, because if I'm taking a handful of tablets and I have no clue why I'm taking it, I'll quit, because that's a lot of tablets. But if I understand it and it means something to me, and certainly if I associate something positive with it, I will continue. So that is another really big goal of all this, to help you understand what this actually does and how we all are kind of, I wouldn't say at risk, but we all are kind of being exposed to this. None of us are not. And doing it like once a year or once every once in a while is so much better than never doing it at all. And from feeling so out of control of the world that we live in, like there's nothing I can do to be healthier, it's so overwhelming. I'm like, no, run around in some circles, drink some water, detoxify, have healthy relationships, feel good about yourself, and those are things that you can do.
Yeah, and just from a timing of when to do it, I look at really probably 2 to 3 times a year is the optimal time to focus on. Obviously New Year's, because everyone's got New Year's resolutions. But then as you get into, February, March, April, okay, my New Year's resolution kind of fell by the wayside. What do I need to do to re-jumpstart that? That's a good time to do a detox. And then also looking at it end of summer, you've spent a lot of time at the lake, hanging out with the kids, going to cookouts. You haven't necessarily been eating healthy. What do we need to do as we're getting into, pre-holiday time to kind of reset that metabolic health that we want to look at?
Those are great points.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. I know we've gone like super in depth with this because we have to, because it's so fun and it's amazing, and we don't want to shorten the experience for you. So let us know if you have any questions moving forward, and I hope you have a great day.